Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Let's see the news. I don't think there's any big news. Okay, actually, there's a few big news.
Oh, let me know.
Well, one was just bizarre from yesterday. Let me open that, share. Let me refresh. All right, so one one piece of news is apparently Russia is hacking into um,
Uh-huh.
CDC, the
Good morning.
CDC. Good morning.
Morning. I wrote. Let me see the verb for read.
Red.
Read. I read.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying that Russia's trying to steal information on the vaccine. Um, I don't know if I believe it anymore because nothing that comes out of the White House is true. Um, let's see. Trump is still fighting with Dr. Fauci for some bizarre reason. Let's see. Last night,
Mm-hmm.
where is that news? Oh, here it is. Um, a bunch of very famous people's Twitter accounts were hacked, and it was people trying to get what's called Bitcoin, which is a online money. It's so like Joe Biden, Bill Gates, President Obama,
Mm-hmm.
all it was like actually I can't even tell you how many people were um so like Kanye West, who's a rapper, the owner of CNN, Warren Buffett, the companies Apple, Wendy's, Uber, they were all hacked last night. It was like it was a lot of people actually that got hacked.
Was what?
Hacked. So so to be hacked means um, they find your password to
Uh-huh.
your account. So, for example, Facebook,
Uh-huh.
and then they go onto your account and start posting. And they were actually posting for, they want people to um, give them money. It was a very strange thing.
Mm.
So
Hackers.
that was last night. Um, let's see. Let's go to Reuters. So yep, there's the hacking thing. Let's see.
Mm.
It looks like unemployment is still very high, which means there are still people who um, are still collecting unemployment insurance and they can't find a job or they can't go back to work because it's not open yet. Let's see. So Twitter was having a bad day yesterday. um, let's see. I think that was the biggest news from the last day is the Twitter thing and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a cute picture. Look at that. Let me see if I can open it up bigger. Giraffes below what looks like a train tracks. That's a look how small those giraffes are.
Is Africa?
Yeah, it's in Africa. It's in Nairobi, which is Nairobi is Kenya. Let's see what else we got. So here's some more pictures. So here's a lion. And look, there's that road again in this in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a park for African animals. Oh, there's.
Oh,
This is.
I love it.
Antelope. Some zebras. Oh, and look, there's Nairobi in the background. You can see the city.
So it's close the city, the park.
Yeah.
Is Johannesburg?
No, it's a Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Which, oh, here's a buffalo.
Mm.
There's the antelope again. The zebra.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, those are nice pictures.
Thank you.
And I don't see. Oh, here's the next problem that's coming up. So let's have, let's see. Lucia, could you read the headline?
Thank you. A tsunami of evictions is coming. One housing advocates.
Okay. Do you know what tsunami is?
I know what tsunami is.
Like a storm.
It's like a storm. It's a big wave.
Wave?
So imagine it's a wave like that.
The water in the ocean.
So what happens with a tsunami is you got a big wave and then it's going to crash. So they're saying there's going to be a lot of evictions coming. Do you know what an eviction is?
No.
Evictions.
So an eviction is when a landlord removes someone from a apartment or house. So it means they go to court and they say you must leave after 24 hours. So because of coronavirus, people could not work and pay their bills. So not everyone got the unemployment, which was a very good unemployment. It was $600 every week plus what you made. So it could be like $200 plus $600 every week. But not everyone got that. There are some people who are still working, but they were working less. And because there were problems with unemployment, so many people applied for unemployment that it was very difficult to get everyone. And some people were waiting for months. So during that time, they could not pay their rent.
Then they don't have a house.
So what happened was many states said for 3 months, you can't be evicted. So that means if you couldn't pay your rent for 3 months, on month 4, you have to pay all the rent for 3 months plus the 4th month.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money.
If your rent's $1,000 a month and you didn't work, on July 1st, you owed $4,000. And starting July 1st in many states, they were allowed to be evicted. So that's the crisis that's starting now, is a lot of people are going to become homeless.
Or they go home.
If they have family, that can take them in, they go home. But some people don't have family. So if you look here, this says, Teresa, could you read that for me?
Okay. People don't realize these lenders are like, we want our money or you have to leave, say Gonzalez, who owns Rosalie in back rent and fees on her pueblo, Colorado. Apartment according to documents reviewed by NMB News. These lenders, they don't care.
So this woman owes $5,000. And her landlord says, pay it all or you have to leave.
Yeah.
So this is the crisis that's going to begin now. So they're saying
we have the virus. Does have a another.
This is another consequence. So the first consequence was many companies were closing, which is still happening. You're seeing a lot of companies are closing now because they can't afford. And now you're going to see they're guessing it's going to be 28 million people are going to become evicted.
Wow.
We don't know if that's just a guess. We don't know if that's the real number, but that is what they think is going to happen in the next 2 months.
Wow.
So that's going to be the next crisis that we're going to see.
Jesus.
Yep. It's not a good thing at all.
No.
So we'll be hearing, I think Connecticut, we have until next month for eviction protection. I'll have to double check that. But in states like California, they've already started on eviction.
It's a program.
It's going to be a big problem. So today we're going to do our second right activity, which is write an email requesting a reference. So let's have Sonia, could you read the red sentence for me?
In this lesson, we are going to write an email requesting a reference.
Good. So in this lesson, you will identify information in an email, organize information in an email, and identify and use formal language. So, reference letters. When you look for a job, an employer can ask you for a reference letter. Sometimes certificate programs also ask for a reference letter. A reference letter describes your skills and abilities.
Brian, you sound is
The microphone, something.
Yeah,
something wrong.
it's bad.
Just a moment. Let me do this.
Right.
Let me try this. Okay. How's that?
Yeah, now it's better.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So, oh, now I can hear myself. So how can a reference letter help you? What are ways a reference letter can help you? Any ideas?
Reference letter can help you because they know your abilities, skills, or your responsibility.
Good. A reference letter can help show what skills and abilities you have to a new job or training program. Reference letter can also help show your new boss what makes you different and special. Okay, so who can you ask for a reference?
New boss.
No, Xbox.
You can ask an old boss.
Yeah.
Who else?
Teacher.
Teachers. Very good.
Partners. Work partners.
Work colleagues.
Employer.
Employer. So that could be the person above your boss.
Personal reference, like a friend's.
Very good. So personal references are a thing. It's hard for me to hear myself and talk at the same. Let me quickly grab my other headphones. 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. So, Your references can be from friends. Personal references usually talk about what kind of person you are. Are you a good person? Are you a kind person? Are you a smart person? Usually you see personal references when you go to college or when you get a job that involves working with the public. So you can ask your old boss or manager, teachers, work colleagues, employers, friends. And the last one would be clients. So if you have a balloon business, your clients usually write reviews on the online. Those are kind of references.
Exactly.
It tells customers what kind of business you are.
Mhm. Yeah.
So here we have a reference letter. Well, a request for a reference letter. So repeat after me. Request for a reference letter.
Request for
for
reference letter.
Reference letter.
Reference letter.
Reference letter.
Good. Dear Mr. Chu,
Dear
Dear
Mr. Chu,
I am writing to you because I need a reference letter.
I
I am writing to you because I need a reference letter.
letter.
I am a student in your intermediate English class this semester.
I am a student in your intermediate English class this semester.
I am applying for a summer job at Safeco Supermarket.
I am applying for a summer job.
Supermarket.
I need a reference letter from a teacher.
I
I need a reference letter for a teacher.
a teacher.
Can you please write one for me?
Can you
Can
please
you
write?
write one for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sincerely,
Sincerely,
Lan Nguyen.
Then Nguyen.
Good. So, question 1. Who needs a reference letter?
Lan Nguyen.
Lan Nguyen.
Lan Nguyen. And why does Lan need a reference letter?
Because
she needs to apply for
a new job, a summer job.
He is applying for a summer job. Why is he asking Mr. Chu for one?
because Mr. Chu is his teacher, English teacher.
Good.
We need
Because Mr. Chu is his English teacher.
English teacher.
I hate when it doesn't give me enough space. If there's only one thing I don't like about Burlington, it's that one thing. It just doesn't give me the space. Okay, because Mr. Chu is his English teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually, writing reference letters is very common for English teachers. I write many reference letters for my students in both, usually the high school. But sometimes it's good because, unfortunately, a lot of people don't think immigrants can speak English well enough. So it's important for the English teacher to say, I've had this student, they've done wonderfully, they speak very well now. It's very good for them.
Mhm.
All right. So, part 4. All right. So, let's read the email one more time. Request for a reference letter.
Request for a reference letter.
Dear
Request
Miss,
for a reference letter.
dear Mr. Chu,
Dear Master Shu,
I'm writing to you because I need a reference letter.
I
I'm
am
writing to you because I need a
because
reference letter.
reference letter.
I am a student in your intermediate English class this semester.
I am
I am
student
a
in your
student in
intermediate
the
English class
English
this
class
semester.
this semester.
I am applying for a summer job at Safeco Supermarket.
I am applying for a summer job at supermarket.
I need a reference from a teacher.
I need
I
a
need
reference
a
for letter
letter
for a
from
teacher.
a teacher.
From a teacher.
Can you please write one for me?
Can
Please
you
write
please write one for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sincerely,
Sincerely,
Lan Nguyen.
Là Liêu Duyên.
All right. So, which sentence in this email explains why Lan is writing? So tell me the sentence that explains why.
I am writing to you because I need a
I
reference
need
letter.
a reference letter from a teacher.
Good. I need a reference letter from a teacher. How does he know Mr. Chu?
Because he is a student in his intermediate English class this semester.
Good. He is a student in Mr. Chu's intermediate English class this semester. Okay, good. I had no space. So why he needs the letter?
He's applying
Because
for
he
summer
is
job
applying
He
for
applied
a
for
job, a summer job.
He's applying for a summer job at Safeco Supermarket.
Save.
What does he want Mr. Chu to do?
write a reference.
he want Mr. Chu write reference for him.
A letter.
For him. So imagine each question had a color. So we'll say 1 is red, 2 is pink, 3 is green, and 4 is blue. So what does he want Mr. Chu to do? Well, we underline the sentence that corresponds with that sentence. So why he needs a letter? I am applying for a summer job at Safeco Supermarket. How he knows Mr. Chu? I am a student in your intermediate English class this semester. And why is Lan writing? He needs a reference letter from a teacher. So this is just giving evidence for why you answered the way you did. And it's a good thing, like when you're beginning to cite evidence, to maybe highlight it or reference it some way. So like colors is a good way. It's always a good plan.
Cool, thank you.
So we're going to go on to number 5, which says, when you write a letter to a teacher or an employer, usually you use formal language. You can use informal language to when you write to family and friends. So, looking at informal language, look at the letter, and how would you say hi in formal language?
Hello.
Hello.
Dear.
Hello. In the letter, you say dear.
Dear.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And like if you're at work and you're sending an email to a coworker, you'd say like, hi. Oh, they don't give Mr. Chu's first name. So you would say like, hi, Lan, instead of hello, Mr. Nguyen. So it depends on the formality. So maybe if you start a new job, before you get to know your coworkers, you might say, hello, Mr. Chu, instead of hello, Mike. As you get to know the person, you can become more informal. So, informal language is I'm. And in this in the letter, what did Lan use instead of I'm?
I am.
I am.
Oh, I cannot use am. I'm.
We typically say using contractions is a informal way of speaking. So
Thank you.
normally we say don't use the contractions, but I think that rule is beginning to change just because of texting, and it's just becoming so normal to use smaller amounts of words. So I think in the future we'll see a difference there. So it also says thanks. What's the formal way of saying thanks?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And instead of bye, what did Lan say?
Sincerely.
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 So in letters, we usually use sincerely at the end. There's other ways we could also say it, and I'll when we get to the writing part, I'll give you some examples of the other ways you could say things.
Okay.
So first we're going to organize. And when you're writing, you usually want to, especially if you think the person might not know exactly who you are, it's important to say who you are, why you're writing, the reason for writing, why you need the reference letter, and what you want the person to do. So let's take a look at the 4 sentences at the top. We have, I'm in your citizenship class. I'm writing to ask you for a reference letter. Can you write me a reference letter? And I have a job interview at a restaurant. So
I'm writing.
Reason for writing. Which one of these is a reason for writing?
The second.
Good. I'm writing to ask you for a reference letter. How do you know the person? Which one of these is how you know them?
I
am in your citizen class.
Good. Why you need the reference letter? Which one of these is?
I have a
job interview at a restaurant.
Good. And I think this last one's going to be easy because it's actually the same thing as the first one. So, So here's a good checklist for when we start to write. So we're going to start planning. So take about 5 minutes and answer these 5 questions. This does not have to be real, so you can make believe or pretend like maybe you want to become president of a company. So you can have a little fun. So I'll put the timer for 5 minutes. Okay, we're halfway through. Okay, about 1 more minute. All right. So I'm gonna answer these questions for myself. So give you a little example. So what job do you want to apply for? I want to apply for principal of a school. Who can I ask for a reference? I'm going to ask Laura in the main office. Laura Chumacero. How do I know this person? We work together at Meriden Adult Education. Why do you need the reference letter? The committee wants to know about how I work with students. And what do I want the person to do? I want Laura to write about how I work with my students and any feedback she got from those students. So that's what I want her to do. Not just say like I recommend, but I want very specific information in my recommendation. So for example, maybe Sonia wants her referencer to talk about how she's a great artist. Or maybe Teresa wants her referencer to talk about how she's good at math. So in that last part is when you want very specific information. So if you're trying to get a job where you work with people, maybe you'll say, I want you to talk about how I am good with customers. So this is my plan. I'm gonna actually take a picture of it so I don't forget. So in the next section, we're gonna actually start writing. But before that, I want to go over some email rules. All right, so email. All right, so when you start an email, what are ways you can start? What's the one we saw already?
Dear Mr. Brian.
Dear Mr. Then last name.
The last name. Oh.
Because even if you use the first name for, I can't change the color of just one small part. The first name would still be very informal. So you can also say, for example, dear professor name. So here, professor is what's called a title. Okay.
Like Brian?
So it could be like doctor, or it could be principal, director, senator, president. So anything that's a title, you can put before the name. And when you have the title, you don't need Mr. So here, Mr., I'll just put a big X through. that. So you don't need that.
Oh.
Because the title, Mr. is actually a title. The title of Mr. just means man. Okay, there's also one more you can use, and this one is when you're sending an email to a mailbox. So instead of sending it to me directly, you send it to meridanadulted@meridan.org. So you don't know who's going to read it, but you need it to go somewhere. So you would say, to whom it may concern. This is when you're not sure who is going to read the email, but you want help making sure it gets to the right place. So that's how you open an email. Now, when you close an email, there are a few different ways you can do it. So the one we saw in the example was, you remember what it was?
Sincerely.
Sincerely. Sincerely. Okay. So that's one that's like common. Everyone uses this one. Then there's others that are a little more, that could be either more formal or has a different type of message that you like better. So for example, in my emails, I always say kind regards. And it's just me, it's a way of being friendly but formal.
Oh.
You can also say, I'm trying to think of.
Best regards.
What's that?
Best regards.
Best regards.
Yeah.
That's also, it's also formal but friendly. And
Bad week.
what's that?
Bad week. Wishes.
Good. So that's on the informal side. So when we look at informal, I'm going to change it to a light blue or green. So best wishes, with love, yours truly, hugs and kisses. Now, these you never use in the work email.
Teacher, bad wishes in informal.
It is informal, just because best wishes kind of gives the message that you're not going to talk to them for a long time. And if you're working with the person, it would be kind of weird to get best wishes because it kind of says like, oh, I'm not going to see you for like a few months, and it might confuse the other person. So, and of course, with love, yours truly, hugs and kisses, those are for family and friends only.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, when you're writing a letter for a reference, the blue ones are much better.
Thank you.
These are what you want.
Oh,
I never know this.
Ryan,
Yeah. Yes.
in some of my emails for customer, I put I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yep. So that's called what's called a send-off. So that's before the sincerely.
Okay.
I have
So-
a question.
It's like a thank you.
Yeah, it's like so when you write emails, so this is like your close, and before the close, many people put one sentence by itself, which is something, it's like how it's a way you want to end a letter so that it's positive and looks good, or it's inviting. So your example, let me use orange. So I look forward to hearing from you. That's a good one. Other ones I've used are, please let me know if you have any questions. That's another common send off or closing remark. Another one you can use is, I look forward to working with you. So this one is good if you're in sales. It's kind of like you're saying like, oh, I hope you give me your business. So that's usually the last sentence by itself before you send the email. So I'm gonna go. Well, I'll give you a second.
I have a question.
Sure.
The beginning, when you say professor, I never use Mr. But I put name, the first name or the last name.
You can do just last name, or you can do both first name and last name. And only if the person is someone you know and they like it, can you use the first name. So I don't know if I don't think I know any professors that I had that would say, call me Professor Mike. But for example, in high school, most of my students call me by my first name, just because I want them to feel like it's friendly. So they'll send me emails saying, well, they call me by my last name, but they just call me Sorak. Not Mr. Sorak, just Sorak. Because it's their way, because for them, it's their way of being friendly. It's not being disrespectful. I know some people find it very disrespectful, but for me, I don't mind that.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Let's go back to Burlington, and we're going to look at the writings part. So you're going to write an email asking for a reference. You're going to use your plan to help you, and there's a model. So I'm going to model for you, actually, my email. So what I need to do is, so I'm writing to Laura. So I'm going to write, Dear Laura, because me and Laura work together and we're co-workers, so I can use her first name because we know each other.
Okay.
Okay, but if Laura was my teacher, I would say, Dear Miss Jumacero.
Okay, I need to know that.
Yeah. All right. And usually when you're on the computer, you're going to hit enter twice. to put a little space between the dear part and your first paragraph. So let me pull up my plan. Okay. So I am going to say, I want to go back.
Thank you for teach us. It's so important.
Well, this is one of those things about Burlington I like, because they actually have a life skill, which is very important. So I'm gonna write, Dear Laura, I am writing to you because I am applying for a job as a principal. Period. And, oh, let me go back so I can pull up this, and I'll go back here. Okay. I would like to ask if you can write me a letter of, well, I'm not going to use a reference letter, so let me change that. A reference letter. They would like to see that how I work with students, and if you have heard any feedback, could you include that as well? And so if there's anything in particular, I would put it here. For example, if you got any feedback about summer school, that would be great. So I'm giving an example of something specific I want. So here's my send-off. Thank you for your help. Sincerely. Yeah, I'll do sincerely. Sincerely, Brian Sorak. So that's how my letter would be. So we have the intro, or the intro. We have the closing. We have the, what we call, well, I'm gonna call it a send-off. We have, oops, let me go back here. So this is the why. This is why. Blue. This is what, that's what I want. And I'll do a darker blue for so these are specifics. So when you write yours, it's going to look something like this. Let me do full screen. All right. Oh, Let me go back to the whiteboard.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'd like you to do is write a request for a reference letter. If you want to if you want, you can take a picture of what's here.
Thank you.
And then when everyone's ready, I'll go back to Burlington so you can see the same.
What is the last word? Classic. Classing.
Closing.
Closing.
Yeah. So it's like closing the letter. So instead of intro, I could also put opening. Ooh. So you have your opening and your closing.
Mm-hmm.
Intro is another word for the same thing. Okay.
Uh-huh. Awesome.
All right. Are we ready for me to go back to Burlington?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't want to cut anyone off. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to write your own letter. And, so I have an example, the Burlington example here. Just like my example, you're going to use formal language. You're going to organize it. And you're going to explain why you need the letter. So I'm going to give you about 8 minutes. So you can write, and then we'll share some. Okay, about one more minute. All right. So if you're still writing, that's okay. Did anyone finish?
Mhm.
All right, Sonia, why don't you read your letter?
It's for you. There, Mr. I cannot pronounce your last name.
It's Sorak.
Sorak.
Good.
I am writing for you because I am applying for a job at the Dunkin' Coffee.
Good.
I would like to ask if you can write me a reference letter.
Good.
They would like know my English skills. So I
Good.
need a reference letter from my teacher. Thank you for your help. Sincerely, Sonia Schussler.
Good. And Lucia?
Yes. This letter is from my last boss. Dear Captain Jasenkal, I'm writing to you because I am applying for a new job as a quality engineer. I would like to ask you if you can write for me a reference letter. They would like to know how was my performance as a quality engineer in the oil industry, specific my last 3 years experience with the oil boats, in the oil boats. I would appreciate if you could include this information. For example, if you got any feedback about my role as an auditor and top manager representative, that would be great. Thank you in advance. Sincerely, Lucia Nar.
All right. And let's have Teresa.
Dear Mr. Sorak, I am writing to you because I am applying for a job as English traductor. I would like to ask if you can write me a reference letter. I was your student in your intermediate English class this summer. I am applying for a job at community health center as traductor. I need a reference letter from you. Can you please write one for me? Thank you sincerely, Teresa Apollo.
Good. And let's have Kim.
Dear Mrs. Carty, I am writing to you because I need a reference letter. Last 2 years, I worked at a muscle store with you. I am applying for calculate staff at store this year. I need a reference letter from supervisor. They like to see how I worked before. Can you please write one for me? Thank you. Sincerely, Kim Mo.
Good. And last, Yen.
Yeah. Dear Mr. Soros, I am writing to you because I need a reference letter. I am a student in your ESL class this summer. And now I am applying for a job at a company. I need a reference letter from letter. They would like to know my English skill. Can you write one for me? Thank you. Sincerely, Yen Yong.
Very good. All right. So for homework this weekend, you are going to, there we go. You're going to do the student lesson version, and I believe the writing will be very, so instead of writing about a reference letter for a job, you're going to be looking for a program. So you'll write here, you'll do your from, to, subject. So it'll be just like writing an email. And that will be all. So make sure to save to profile when you finish writing. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you submit your attendance. So that's all for today. Hope everyone has a very nice weekend. It's going to be very hot. It's going to be almost 100 degrees.
I see. Wow.
You too.
Yeah. All right. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Yeah, you too, teacher.
Good weekend.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.